Hello and welcome to another Paratus video. My name is Gideon, and in today's video we're quickly going to have a talk about why you should have a talk with your investment manager, fund manager, asset manager, or whomever else, call them a portfolio manager, who is looking after your, be it your retirement annuity, preservation fund, pension fund, anything along those lines that you are stashing away or putting away for retirement and having those assets managed. For the simple reason that the ANC has telegraphed quite clearly that they are coming after pension funds, preservation funds, and retirement annuities via a policy of prescribed investment in order to take your money and pump it, your savings, might I add, and pump it into vanity projects like SAA. That's the big white elephant in the room, the big pig in the story, SAA, and we're going to unpack that in a moment. And following upon the advice of Magnus Heystek, his articles linked in the description below, I recommend you go read that and seek advice from him and other subject matter experts, including your fund manager, about how to get your money out of retirement annuities and preservation funds now, how to get what you can't get out offshore as quickly as possible, how to safeguard and ring fence your savings from ANC kleptocracy, which is essentially what this is. Now, for those of you that might have some doubts about how serious this situation is, and that it might not be all bad if your savings, if you're one of these people that think it might not be all bad for your savings, for your pensions, for your retirement, essentially, to be expropriated from you without compensation, so to speak, and funneled into SAA. Let's quickly just have a discussion about what SAA is. They haven't made a profit in a decade. In fact, they've racked up massive losses, well over 30 billion. They repeatedly fail at presenting audited financial statements. They're a public enterprise. They should be completely transparent and let the public, we are all in essence shareholders and stakeholders in SAA, because almost everybody, in fact, everybody does pay tax, because VAT is tax as well. We're all taxpayers. The national debt being SAA, that has received in excess, or rather close to 60 billion rands worth of bailouts since 1994. The fact that they don't want to tell the public what the hell they're doing inside the hallowed halls of Airways Park with our money is not just shocking, it's pretty damn criminal. So we've got this opaque, bizarre kleptocratic organization filled with corruption and criminality, ineptitude, incompetence, laziness, all these bad things, who take our money, billions upon billions of rands of the stuff over the past few years, that can't make a profit, hasn't made a profit in a decade, had a whole bunch of staggering losses in the 2000s, which were allegedly a good decade for SAA. And now they want more of our money. And since tax revenue is completely, and if you are scared of strong language, close your ears now, or offended by it rather, close your ears now, our tax revenue is perma-fucked at the moment, because we shut the entire economy down for close on 3 to 4 months. We have a GDP contraction looming of, just over 30% in the second quarter. So the corrupt thieves of the ANC and in government can't leech off income tax and sales tax and other things to push these funds into SAA, who is so deserving of receiving them, obviously so much more deserving than healthcare is. They only want 10 to 30 billion rand again now to turn this sick thing around, but we'll get to that in a moment. Funding that could have been used for healthcare, funding that could have been used for policing, funding that could have been used for a whole bunch of infrastructure projects, far more worthwhile and far more deserving than this vanity project called SAA that benefits literally nobody else except the connected individuals who run the bloody thing and those employed by it, which are a small minority of the South African populace who we do not need to appease. They don't deserve that employment at the expense of literally everybody else. We'll get to that in a second. So we don't know what's going on in there, because they repeatedly failed to release audited financial statements. They sucked up 60 billion rands worth of bailouts. They can't make a profit. Now they need more of the money, more of your money, in order to turn it around, or they claim to want to turn it around, which will fail because the track record of SAA has been 2 to 3 decades of abysmal failure. There is not a good success story to tell here. SAA can do nothing better than what the private sector is already doing anyway. The private sector having a huge advantage in the fact that they're not leeching taxpayer money, they're not coming after your pensions, they're not coming after your savings. SAA, let me tell you what SAA is and why they're so keen to save it. SAA is a special purpose vehicle of corrupt cadre enrichment. The only reason it exists is because the pigs at the trough, the feeding trough, get to rotate every couple of years to fill their bellies at the expense of the public purse, at the expense of the fiscus, at the expense of literally every other person in this country, without giving us anything of value back. SAA is not a strategic asset. We do not need SAA for this country to function. We do not need SAA to support tourism in this country. Tourism is supported in this country perfectly well by a whole horde of other private sector airlines from other countries, as well as competent, reliable, profit-making domestic airlines that are profitable, as I mentioned. Again, if SAA had to disappear tomorrow, not only would we not notice a negative impact, in fact, it would be a net positive. So, the reason why the government is so keen to keep SAA propped up is several reasons. One, like I said, it's a special purpose vehicle of cadre enrichment. It's filled with corruption, criminality, incompetence, mismanagement, and a whole range of other horrible things that will obviously come to light if this thing liquidates and the assets start getting sold off. So there may be more than a little bit of motivation there to try and keep it going so that people don't discover the skeletons in the closets and the mass graves in the back. That's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but you know what? I'm going to stick to it because why not? It's a fun story and I think there's some merit to it. Another reason is they're terrified of the unions who get all uppity and start burning things and causing all sorts of havoc whenever there's even talk of restructuring SAA. They're using it as an excuse, or rather a favorite excuse they have is, oh, they need SAA for transformation purposes. Now, guys, let's quickly talk about this. SAA as a vehicle for transformation is probably the most inept, expensive, and useless one that has achieved so little meaningful transformation over the years and at such a massive expense that if this is the cost of public sector transformation, then I suggest you look at subsidizing the private sector and let them do the transformation for you, because they'll do it cheaper, they'll do it more efficiently, and they'll do it more effectively. In essence, if you're a pilot for SAA, if you are a black pilot for SAA, the chances are extensively that the vast majority of you and your colleagues who are now part of the transformation agenda are from middle class or upper middle class income families, or to a degree connected. You are now being transformed or playing your role in transformation at the expense of everybody else, including, or rather especially, the poor, who need to keep standing in the back of the begging bowl queue as this airline is bailed out year after year, decade after decade, not performing, having money stolen, having money misappropriated, having all sorts of skullduggery and fuckery going on at the costs of billions upon billions of rands, and disregarding the losses, disregarding the 32 billion rands worth of losses over the past 10 years, disregarding the 60 billion rands worth of bailouts over the past 20 odd years, and disregarding the 10 billion odd rand of unpaid debt that still needs to be serviced. All of that is just a small price to pay for transformation. Really, guys? Is this how we're going to talk in an economy where 3 million South Africans, most of them black, have lost their jobs? 1.5 million South Africans still have their jobs but haven't been paid in 3 to 4 months. Where we've got malnutrition in the Eastern Cape to such an extent among black children that they are eating wild plants to survive. Just to live, wild vegetation, okay? Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would see this level of human devolvement in human rights and basic hierarchy of needs, that there are kids in a province in my country that are eating wild plants to stay alive, where public hospitals are a complete shit show and have been for a long time, that there is utter lack of resources, where we're wasting like R500 million on Cuban slaves that are nowhere to be seen. And on top of this, you're coming to me and saying, oh, we need to steal what little wealth is left from people that have saved for their retirement, plunge that into SAA without their consent, because this is our magic vanity project. And anyone who supports that, I've got only one thing to say to you, pardon strong language again, but fuck you. And if you work for SAA and support this, double fuck you, get out, get a real job, mate, in the private sector. You ain't that special. Get your money out of retirement annuities, preservation funds, pension funds now, if you can. If you can't get out, get it offshore. Read Magnus's thing. That's all I've got to say on this subject matter. Otherwise, I'm going to be here all day. Also, if you'd like to support Paratus, you can buy our merchandise soon. I don't have my cap on my head, but you can see it in one of my other videos. Boeretroos Coffee, very kindly, we have a deal with them. You can buy the coffee in the link below and we get some of it. Otherwise, credit section, Snapscan and Zapper are about to come right up. You've been awesome. Stay awesome. Protect your penny. Not your penny, your money. Protect your money. Protect your pensions. Protect your retirement. Fight communism. Support small business. See you all soon. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.